Join me now, Peter Schweizer. He's got a new bestseller out. Peter, thanks for being with us.
Hey, John, great to be with you as always. Thanks for having me.
You're always on top of everything. Give us an update on what you're working on now that is going to make a difference like all your stuff does.
Well, we're concentrated right now on the Supreme Court is going to be hearing the case of birthright citizenship, right? That's this notion that if your mother happens to be in the United States at the time and gives birth, you're automatically granted citizenship. This is a hugely important issue, especially because the Chinese government on an industrial scale is exploiting birthright citizenship as a means of subversion. The Chinese government has been encouraging members of the elites to do this, to fly their wives or pregnant girlfriends to the United States to give birth, get them citizenship. As soon as that child is old enough to travel, a week or so after they're born, they fly them back to China where they're going to be raised. They've been doing this for 13 years, John, and the Chinese government believes that more than 1 million U.S. citizens, I'm going to put that in air quotes, are being raised in China right now. And when they turn 18, they're going to be able to vote. And that crest is really going to hit around 2030. So this is a huge problem. It's, I think, an existential challenge for us. And the Supreme Court has to be made aware of exactly what's going on. So I reported this in my book, The Invisible Coup. We now know that the Solicitor General of the United States and some of the additional briefs that have been filed on the case are going to be raising this national security issue. But we need to keep this on the radar screen. I'm going to be testifying before a Senate committee next week on this subject, but we've got to keep focused on this. There's so many things going on right now in the immediacy. This is a big tidal wave that's going to hit us soon if we don't deal with it right now.
Peter, the concern that we all have is losing confidence in the so-called conservative court, because you basically got Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, who I was a biggest mistake I made. Is it really the first mistake I made? Because back when George Bush picked that guy from New Hampshire, I couldn't stand him, Souter. Nobody knew anything about him. But I'm Catholic, and I thought Amy Coney Barrett was going to be the best one we had. She has turned out to be the worst. I just can't believe it. So we have no confidence. I mean, this ruling is going to be 5-4 in favor of it. They'll quote the Constitution. The three liberals will back it, and Barrett and Roberts. So what's the way out here?
Yeah, the issue is, John, is the court going to say that birthright citizenship can be limited in any way, right? They could say, no, birthright citizenship, it's not really the intention of the 14th Amendment, so no, it doesn't apply anymore. I rather doubt they're going to do that based on what you were saying, because you've got guys like Amy Coney Barrett and you've got John Roberts, who, for them, precedent is key. And there have been cases on birthright citizenship earlier, different than what we're facing today, but their tendency is going to be to favor precedent. It's very similar, by the way, to what you were talking about earlier with the sheriff about John Thune and not wanting to break Senate tradition. The problem is that our adversaries, they have no problem with breaking with precedent or with tradition. They do it all the time. So what it ends up happening is we just have this casual retreat as it relates to these issues. But what I'm talking about is the court needs to say, if they're not prepared to say birthright citizenship doesn't apply, there should be limitations on it. Are they really prepared to say, John, that literally if a mother steps her big toe across the border, gives birth to a child, and then raises the child somewhere else for 30 years, and the person comes back and says, I'm an American citizen and I can vote and have all these rights, are they really prepared to say that? Because if they're going to say that, that makes the Constitution a suicide pact. That's really what it does. It means that citizenship doesn't mean anything anymore, and people can game the system the way that the Chinese are gaming it right now.
So what do you think will happen?
I have been accused of being overly optimistic, John. So I'm going to say it's going to be a 5-4 decision, and they are going to allow either the executive or Congress to limit the scope of birthright citizenship, that it's not absolute. Maybe they're going to say somebody comes here, they live here for 30 years, they're paying their taxes, they're making a life for themselves, they give birth to a child, the child is raised here. they can be a U.S. citizen. But I don't want to believe that a majority of justices are going to say you can become a citizen by your parents lying on their visas, saying they're coming to the United States as a tourist, giving birth to the child, 1 week later flying them back to China, raising them in CCP schools, and then saying, yeah, they're a citizen. They can start voting by absentee ballot from mainland China. I mean, that's really what we're facing. I just don't want to believe that a majority of justices are going to, side with that decision.
What did you think would happen with the decision on the tariffs, Peter?
The tariffs didn't surprise me, not because I don't agree with it, but I think when it comes to issues of authority and tariffs and by what authority you do it, it can get very technical. The challenge on this issue, in contrast to the tariffs, is that this is all based on the 14th Amendment and based on a decision in the late 1800s. In which a gentleman from China who was born and raised here went back to China, lived there for 20-something years, then returned to the United States and was told that, you're not a citizen. I don't think that applies. So the difference here is there's really not a lot of law. It's based on this interpretation of the 14th Amendment, which, as you know and you've talked about, was really passed to make sure that slaves who had been freed with the Civil War were given the right to be citizens because they were citizens and they've been raised here. The key phrase in the amendment is that phrase, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And I'm not an attorney, but I don't see how any attorney can argue that a child that is born here and then they're 1 week old goes back to China and lives there for 20 years and then comes and says, I'm a citizen. How are they ever subject to the jurisdiction thereof the United States? I don't see how you can argue that. So again, I remain optimistic, and it's really going to come down to, as you said, Barrett and Roberts. I think those are going to be the two that are going to decide this critically important case.
Best-selling author Peter Schweizer with us. Anything you read that he's ever done has been phenomenal. Peter, what do you think about I don't have a lot of confidence in Comer. He doesn't do anything, but he says he's going to start an investigation. He sent a strongly worded letter, I guess, to Pam Bondi, who's not really done anything either. So both of them haven't done anything. Maybe it'll change. Probably not. But they want to get to the bottom of who was funding the flash mobs in Minneapolis that were obstructing federal law enforcement from completing their objectives. And does that even matter?
Yeah, I think it does matter. And look, what I would say is I think the blame here goes to the Department of Justice. What Comer's done, we've done some work with him. Comer holds hearings, right? And he can subpoena people. He did it to the Clintons. He does it to other people. He's a member of Congress. He can't arrest anybody. That's the Department of Justice's job. They're the ones that can actually issue subpoenas, go into financial records, and do all that stuff. So the inaction, as far as I'm concerned, that rests at the feet of the Department of Justice. I think this investigation is very important only if it actually leads to action by this administration. That is DOJ either charging individuals who are obstructing federal law enforcement. They can be charged under conspiracy statutes, or you can have the Treasury Department can actually freeze bank accounts. If you're involved in a criminal conspiracy as a nonprofit organization, and there are many of them doing this, to obstruct federal law enforcement, Treasury can go to the banks and say, hold and freeze the assets of all of these accounts because they are engaging in criminal activity. So it's really up to this administration to do something about it. And we've done a lot of research on this, John. My colleague, Seamus Bruner, testified before the White House Antifa roundtable with President Trump. He also testified before a Senate committee with Senator Hawley. The information is there. We have the names, we have the individuals, we know the money trail. The question now is whether federal authorities are actually going to do something about it, or they're just going to continue to give us this talk, which is getting pretty tiresome, frankly.
Peter, why is it the only person that does anything is Trump?
Well, I think part of it is, as we all know, when Donald Trump is done with Washington, he's going to be done with Washington. He's going to be in Mar-a-Lago, maybe spend time in New York. He's going to be involved in politics, but He doesn't want a lobbying gig. He doesn't want to serve in a future administration. He doesn't want to be ambassador somewhere. And that's the problem. Washington, D.C., as you know, John, is a company town. And so even if you are a fire-breathing Trump guy, the odds are if you are youngish, 40s, 50s, 60s, you might want to serve in a future administration. You may run for political office. You may need the support of the DC establishment, whether that's the Republican Party, whether that's the Chamber of Commerce. So you're hedging your bets. Donald Trump does not hedge his bets. That's why I think he's such an effective leader. But the problem is you have a group of individuals that he has selected. Some of them are very good. But a lot of them, frankly, are kind of looking over their shoulder a little bit, John, and saying, well, when Trump is gone, what's my next gig? And that is a huge problem.
Peter Schweizer's book, The Invisible Coup, How American Elites and Foreign Powers Use Immigration as a Weapon, and got a picture of AOC there right in the center. So you can check that out on Amazon or your favorite bookstore. So Peter, you talked about the Washington, D.C. establishment. So I live in Washington, D.C. This is where I am now. This is my home. And I'm part of the D.C. GOP Executive Committee. Does that make me part of the D.C. establishment?
No, because as far as I know, you're not looking for some kind of a favor. You're not looking for an ambassador appointment. The question is, what's your mindset, right? What is your mindset? And when I think of Washington, D.C. as a company town, I think a lot of what we see in terms of debate and discussion between Republicans and Democrats, frankly, it's like professional wrestling. The first time when I was a kid, I saw professional wrestling. I thought these guys hitting each other with chairs hated each other. And then my dad said, no, it's all fake. These guys work together. They're business partners. There's a similar dynamic at work with a lot of the DC establishment.
You are so right. Okay, I'm here. And I've been here. I was here 21. Trump won 21 to 20. What was it? 20? No, 6. I'm sorry, 17 to 20. And then the Biden people kicked me out. I got exiled to Pittsburgh of all places. Now I'm back out of exile, so I'm back here. But yeah, so I'm out of. It's like Napoleon coming back from wherever that island he was. So I'm back. But you're right. I mean, now the way you put that, you are so right. It's like everybody here that's in the administration or trying to get in the administration, in politics, they're all looking for the next gig, the next K Street thing. And so they position themselves to be traditionalists, right? That's exactly what you said, because they're looking for the next thing. I figured that Trump's not going to be here forever, but the Democrats don't think that way. I think AOC is going to run for president. Do you think she is? And I believe she's going to get electoral votes, and I believe she could be the nominee. What do you think?
I think AOC. Yeah, I think AOC is absolutely going to run because that's the way that you build your national brand. I think it's really going to be an interesting fight, John. You're going to have her. You're going to have Gavin Newsom, the wonder boy of California, is going to be trying to run in that progressive lane with her. Then you're going to have some people run that have, quote unquote, positioned themselves as moderates. Guys like Andy Beshear of Kentucky, who's still very left wing on a lot of issues. And this is going to be a debate about where's the Democratic Party going. And I frankly think the Democratic Party is going to continue to go off of this progressive cliff because that is where all of the energy in the Democratic Party is. I don't see somebody like Beshear or even somebody like Shapiro getting very far in a primary. Because the center of gravity in the Democratic Party is with progressives. So AOC has a big lane. She's not terribly smart. She's not terribly insightful. But what she will do is she will avoid doing interviews. She'll do very controlled interviews with podcasts. Unlike Donald Trump, who stands in front of the media every other day and takes questions, she will avoid embarrassing situations by simply not doing interviews, being very controlled the way that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were.
What about Gretch?
I think Whitmer is a very real possibility. I think we're going to have a jungle primary. I think you're going to have a lot of people. It's going to get very messy. But again, I think if you are a core progressive in the Democratic Party, you are going to gravitate either towards a Gavin Newsom or an AOC. And, the big money doesn't matter the way that it used to. It's now all about social media. So Gavin Newsom is going to raise a lot of money from Hollywood, from Silicon Valley, because he knows those people as governor. They owe him favors. I don't think that's going to matter. AOC is going to have a lot of energy. So I say, as it stands right now, the progressive lane, she's going to win the progressive lane. I think you're going to have a centrist that's kind of in the mix. But right now, AOC has to be considered the front runner, however horrifying that thought might be.
We agree totally. Hey, can Mandami run, or was he not born in the United States?
He was not born in the United States. It's interesting, John, as I recount in the book, Mamdani's election was closely watched by the Iranians and by Hezbollah, the Lebanon terrorist group. And they actually ran an analysis saying that Mamdani winning the mayor of New York, he can't be president because he was born in Uganda. But in a future ministry, he could be the head of the Department of Homeland Security in a future administration. Imagine, why would a terrorist organization want Mamdani head of the Department of Homeland Security? I can only wonder.
I mean, the whole thing is just, if we can go back, Peter, we know each other a long time. If we go back 10 years and said, the mayor of New York City will be a communist, jihadist, anti-Semite, Jew-hating Muslim, you would have said, Fredericks, you're nuts. There's no way that would happen. And now he's like texting the president, like, I just want to voice my disappointment with, what are you, Undersecretary of State? Like, nobody gives a rat's tail. Why don't you try to pick the garbage up in your forsaken city and get rid of the rats? Garbage is piling up all over the place. You can't remove snow. You're an idiot. But you're going to counsel the president on your displeasure with his Iran incursion. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, Peter.
No, you can't. As somebody once said a long time ago about another candidate, the only thing that Mamdani has ever run is his mouth. He has no experience running anything. He was a rapper, I should say that. He did put out some rap songs that praised terrorist groups, but he's not used to running anything. And this is, again, where my hope rests at the end of the day. Progressives appeal to a certain portion of the populace, an increasingly large part of the populace, but they can't deliver because they don't know how to do anything. And what they're calling for runs contrary to human nature, it runs contrary to our institutions, and it runs contrary to common sense. So Mamdani is going to solve the peace in the Middle East, but you're quite right. He's not going to be able to run the city of New York. And I imagine things will be pretty rough within the next year or so.
All right, so we're going to make predictions because you're in the prediction business, because you're a best-selling author, The Invisible Coup. So we're both going to make it. Let's go first. Democratic nominee 28, who will it be?
It can shift a lot right now. I think it's going to be AOC.
AOC. Republican Party presidential candidate 28, who will it be?
I think right now it will probably be J.D. Vance, but big caveat, Marco Rubio has said that he's not going to challenge J.D. Vance. He's going to follow through. I think if Rubio got into the race, I think Rubio could give him a serious run for his money and maybe even win the nomination. Rubio
is going to be the GOP nominee in 28, so we'll disagree on that. And I think he is going to get in the race because he has a astronomically better chance of winning the general election, and that's where the pressure is going to come. Like J.D., very young, not a lot of experience. You look at what Rubio's doing, it's off the charts. So don't forget, you guys can participate in our straw poll. The first one in Iowa. We have 11 candidates, rank them. As soon as we get to 10,000, we got about 8,700. We're going to release it. I've seen some of the results. Phenomenal, very interesting. All you got to do is go to johnfredericksradio.com, johnfredericksradio.com. Our poll is right there. Participate in that. It's free. We don't sell your stuff. We don't ask for email. Obviously, you can only vote one time because we do track where your IP address. If you can send it to a friend, you're good to go. So Peter and I both think AOC 28. Peter thinks Vance. I think Rubio Republican nominee for 20. Could you imagine, Peter, could you imagine a debate between AOC and Marco Rubio?
It'll
Come
be
on,
spectacular.
dude. Could you imagine that? The woman can't get a coherent sentence out.
Yeah, no, it would be absolutely remarkable. They'll probably try to figure out a way that the debate doesn't happen. That would be
She makes Kamala Harris look like Shakespeare. Peter Schweizer, it's always good to have you on. Buy his book, The Invisible Coup. He's been so nice to grace us with his presence, and I hope you're right about the Supreme Court. But as a Catholic, I'm just so mad at Amy Coney Barrett. And the president wouldn't even look at her when he went down the aisle. He wouldn't even look at her. He's pissed.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting moment.
Peter, thanks for being with us. Hey guys, I enjoyed it. Follow me on social media at JF Radio Show, at JF Radio Show. Michael Patrick Leahy right now.